If your ink's too slow and your nib won't flow, here's one of the places that you can go. Larry is here to see you through with Mr. Announcer and Cubby too. It's Larry's Fountain Pen Reviews.
All right, folks, how's everybody doing? This is whoever I am. Who am I? Oh, yeah, Larry. But I have, am I? I last checked anyway. And the back of there is Jiggalaz. But anyway, we have the monster mash himself, the man of the year, of the hour, Mr. Mike Green. Anyway, so it's been a long time for me to get on here and to do this. And it takes a lot uh, out of me to put a video on, but slowly but surely I'm trying to get back. But anyway, here's Mike Green, and what we're going to talk about is his line of work. He's a custom pen maker, and what he did, he left his fabulous job to live his dream, and that's what he's doing. And then he's going to talk a little bit about the pen shows. Okay, so Mr. Mike Green, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Take it away, buddy.
It's good to be back, Larry. It's good to see your smiling face again. I'm very glad. Very glad. Sorry, shouldn't have done that while you were drinking. Sorry. Anyway, no, it's great to be back.
You won the prize.
Yeah. And as you said, basically, I've been making pens, and it seems strange, but it's been 3.5 years now that I've been making pens, and the time has gone by so quickly. You know, when you're having fun, it's like summer vacation. It goes faster than you can imagine, you know, and I've been having a lot of fun making pens. I've been going to pen shows. I don't go to every pen show. I go to 3 or 4 a year. And as you mentioned, about a month ago, I retired from my day job. So guess what? That excuse went away. And I've been just like cranking away, making pens, I've been overindulging, neglecting everything else as usual, and just making pens as fast as I can, or as many as I can, trying lots of different things. So I've been doing a lot of exploration, and of course, that party is just beginning. I'm just getting going. You know, as you can tell, I'm very enthusiastic about this. I'm very happy with the ability now to spend more times with my pens, like, you know, and so this year, like the last few years, I've gone to several pen shows. I was going to continue. I've been going to the Chicago Pen Show since I started making pens. Actually, I started before I started making pens. I was into fountain pens, writing with them. So I went to the Chicago Pen Show again this year. I went to the St. Louis Pen Show. I went to the Pacific Northwest Pen Show again. This was their second year. I went to it last year as well, and I was going to go to the Dallas Pen Show, but I kind of put things off a little bit and couldn't get a table. So I've decided to it looks like I'm going to have to pass this one. So out there, the pen shows are really cranking. And I hear that these aren't unique. All the pen shows, vendors are even having trouble getting tables. They're so popular right now. There's so many people out there getting into this. It's hard to, you know, people go, fountain pens, is that still a thing? And you go, no, it seems like it's getting more popular than ever. There are more people that are getting into this, which is a great thing. There's a lot of new people. It isn't just a bunch of 60-year-olds or whatever, like whatever, you and I, you know, not just old guys. There's a lot of young people getting into this passion, if you will, writing, doing whatever, using inks, using stationery, making pens or buying pens, and we're all just having a great time with it. So anyway, so I'm going to spin back through this. I started this back in April. I went to the Midwest Pen Turners Gathering, which is an event in Chicago, the Midwest one, which is basically for people that make pens, that turn pens. That's Midwest Pen Turners Gathering. Yeah, go figure what they're going to do. And it was a great event. It was in Chicago, went for a couple days. As it turns out, it's in the same hotel as the Chicago Pen Show. It's 2 weeks before it. So I went there. attended some classes, just hung out with people. There's people there that make materials, make tools, lathes, everybody, you name it. There's everything there to make a pen. And these are held all over the country. There's several different gatherings like this all over the place. So went to that. That was really nice. I did play hooky one afternoon and braved the Chicago traffic and drove downtown Chicago to Atlas Stationers. And what a shop. Here in Minneapolis, we are not blessed with a store like that. So you guys in Chicago and Houston with Dromgools and all these places that actually have a pen store, and they're not that many, I know. You guys are blessed. I mean, you guys are very lucky to have that kind of a resource available to you. The rest of us, all we can do is mail order or try to get to a pen show. The Chicago Pen
We
Show
don't
is the
have any
closest.
here in Fort Worth, that's for sure.
Well, there's the Dallas Pen Show coming up, which
Yeah,
is
I'm just saying, stores that,
oh yeah, stores.
yeah.
Yeah, there's no stores. There were stores back in the day that had, that were actually pen stores, but there are none left here in the Twin City area, the Minneapolis, St. Paul.
If you don't
Right.
mind me for a minute,
Joe?
there's been a while back, because I used to review the Jinhao pens a lot. I love Jinhao pens. One of my favorite all-time pens. It's a great pen when you're coming into the age of, I want to be a fountain pen person, but you're not sure. You can't go wrong with it. And I kept telling everybody, one day the Jinhao pens are going to cost more than $10 or $15. Because back then you were able to get them for under $15, in free shipping. And it's
Right.
going up and up. And I think they're doing a great job. But I'm sorry, go ahead.
And I'll just follow on with that. Back in the day, many years ago, Jinhao, they were buying, you could buy a pen for $10 and it might be worth $10, maybe. Okay. It was a pen. Okay. Yeah. But nowadays, the Jinhao pens, their quality has improved tremendously. I mean, they're still, they're still not expensive pens, but I would rank them as they're definitely worth their money now. They're a little more expensive, maybe $20. Crazy. It's gone up, doubled, but they're definitely worth it now. They have pretend, they're going to go somewhere, I think, someday. That company's going to make a go of it, right? Anyway, so I'll go back to Atlas. And
Right.
I went back in there and I had just discovered Warringool Inks and another really fun another group, right? Another, inks or something that, back in the day you'd get, oh, I got a bottle of blue ink. Let's go crazy. I'll get a bottle of black ink, maybe one of green. Okay. I got the 3 bottles of ink. That's crazy. Well, I went in there and looked at these Warringool inks, and I'm a real sucker for literature references and things like that, and they do it. And so I went in there and let's see, what did I do? I did do the Alice in Wonderland collection. I did not do the Wizard of Oz collection, but
Okay.
I think I ended up buying like a dozen bottles of ink, of assorted bottles from them. But anyway, and then I found a beautiful pen, a Leonardo Mosaico, green one, and just gorgeous pen. And I've been kind of shopping in the back of my head, looking at Leonardo, and I've never bought one before. But when you're in the store and you can actually see it, again, you people that have stores, or if you can get to a pen show and actually put your hands on these pens and see them, that is the way to go. It really is. But I was able to pick this pen up and look at it. And of course, that was a bad thing for my credit card anyway. So it's gone. It's here now. It's here. It's that was a while ago. I don't have it in my hands right now, but I've been using that pen like mad. But anyway, so I went to that. That was a gathering for pen turners. After it was going to be it's a 30-minute drive there. Well, it took like over an hour to get there, over an hour to get back in Chicago traffic with construction and all that garbage. So I finally got back to the gathering and had a good time with my fellow pen makers, got some materials to make pens with, and I've been using those. Then 2 weeks later, Chicago Pen Show. And that was my very first pen show 4 years ago. And it's sort of my home show. It's the closest show to me. It's, 6 hours away. But went there. Chicago Pen Show is it's a fine show. I've always, again, it's kind of funny. It's sort of a point of conversation. People come up to my table. I have just a single table, a little simple setup. And people come up to you and you say, well, how are you doing? That's sort of polite thing to say when you say hello to somebody. How are you doing? And I always go, let's see now, you're in a pen show and you're into pens. If you were not having a really fantastic time, you would have to be clinically depressed, right? Really, if you're not having a good time when you're in with a bunch
Right,
of pens,
right.
and among several hundred people that are just as crazy about pens as you are, something's really wrong, and there's inks, there's pens everywhere, all, pilots there, Dromgools is usually at most shows, Canalea, and of course, makers like me that make pens. There's Carolina Pen Company, London Pen Company. I mean, the names just keep going. I mean, there's just so many people that make pens, that make great pens, and of course, manufacturer people, Sailor, they're everywhere. There's so many pens that you can't shake a stick at them. And so it's just paradise. If you're looking for pens, you can just look at them. You can actually see them, hold them up to the light. What can I say? Have a good time. And the pen shows are getting busier all the time. I'm a veteran now of 4 years, and every year they're busier, each show. So anyway, Chicago Pen Show, had a great time there. Then in June, went to the St. Louis Pen Show. Another great show. I mean, a wonderful show. Had a great time there. Trying to think of, just the mind boggles. Of course, now the Chicago Pen Show and the St. Louis show, my wife didn't come with me this year, so I was kind of left unsupervised. It was kind of nice. I was unsupervised, but at the same time, I was also the only one at the table. So if I left, I was kind of stuck at my table. I couldn't leave her there for an hour or something like that. So I didn't get around as much as I'd like to. At the Pacific Northwest show in July, which is a brand new show. I have a son that lives there. So last year when they announced the show, I was like, I'm going to the Pacific Northwest show. I can go visit my son afterwards. So I went to it the first year, went to it this year as well. And great show. I mean, it's a little show, I mean, relatively speaking, but boy, there was a good crowd of people there. I sold more pens at that show than I've sold at any other show ever since before, in the last few years. So it made up for its size. There weren't very as many vendors. I think it was only about 40 or 50 vendors there. There were still I just cleaned all my batch of pens that I just cleaned. I got a Ryan Krusak pen there that is just unbelievable.
Really? Okay.
It is it's made with moose antler, naturally shed moose antler with blackened mango. It looks like ebony wood, and it's got like a scrimshaw carving of the scene where Siegfried is fighting the dragon in the opera, right? He's fighting this big dragon with his sword
Okay.
and his
Yeah.
it's a scrimshaw scene of that on the barrel of the pen, carved into the barrel of the pen.
Oh, that's cool.
So, I mean, that's the kind of stuff you run into. He makes a lot of great wooden pens as well. So, I mean, there's vendors in there that, things that you've maybe only seen online that are just, they're better in person than they are. So, of course, I got that pen. That was great. My wife was with me, so I was able to wander away, unsupervised, and actually managed to buy a pen. So she made up for it, though. We got to that show. We were setting up, as I was still setting up the table, getting going, like in the very first few minutes. In the first 30 minutes, she went off and bought a custom notebook, journal, a really nice
Right.
hand journal. You could, all these things are everywhere on these stores, or these shows. They have this guy was making custom, journals with custom covers and paper and all that. And she found one that was speaking to her, and she was getting close to the end of her previous one. So she, of course, bought that one. So she beat me. She bought something in 30 minutes. So anyway,
30 minutes.
and
Boom.
it's going to go to the Dallas show. It's coming up in just a couple of weeks now. And I put it off, and I didn't register in time. And I put it off too long. I've been there the last 2 years, and I was going to go again this year, and I did not get a table. So, oh well.
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to make it anyway. So
Yeah,
I can't sit that long. I'll be in a wheelchair, and it's hard on me. So
oh yeah, you know,
man,
in fact, that's what brought me to the Dallas Penn Show, is specifically to annoy you. You know that? 2 years ago, that was the first time I went to the Dallas Penn Show. I'm going, Larry, here I am. Here I am, Larry. You know? And
but
I
we
know you've
did
been
meet at we did meet for at the what was that place? Papados.
those. Yes, we did manage to get together one evening for dinner, and it was great to meet you in
That was
person and
fun.
hang out for an evening. I know that, and I know your energy, you know, the way your illnesses are going, it's not possible for you to get out and do things like that. And a pen show would have been way beyond your means. I know that now, you know, but it was great to get together for dinner. It was, I do treasure that. We were able to get together for dinner at least.
It was
And of
fun for
course I
me.
do treasure our time together online. I do appreciate that.
Yeah, I'm having fun right now. This is the thing. For me, it's when crowds come on, I tend to fade away. I don't know why now. And I'm trying. Well, the depression has did a number on me. But
Yeah, yeah. Well, you know, you may just need to do more like one-on-one, you know, try dipping your toe in the water and do some more one-on-one sessions with people. Don't do a big crowd. And I tend to be, you know, a lot of times, you know, if you look at your older Zooms, you'll see that I don't really say much because I'm kind of like what you're basically saying. When I'm in a
right, you
crowd
know,
of
right,
people,
right.
it's hard for me to get a word in edgewise. It's hard to see that now tonight. I'm just blabbering away, but it's hard for me
That's
to
why
really
I'm
get
always glad to see Dr. Joe on there so he can help talk because I run out of stuff to say.
exactly. I've never been a really glib talker, and usually after I've been, you know, met somebody and hung out with them for a little while. Usually an hour or two later, I said, "Oh, I should have said this," or "I should have." My brain just doesn't move as quickly.
Right.
It's always running low gear in that regard in terms of being able to think of things to say and to say them. But so anyway, so
What
anything else
is
about? Yeah, go ahead.
the on the pin shows that you go to? What are the hottest things that are selling at pin shows? If
Well,
you had time to see,
well, just looking around, I mean, you can look around and you can always see crowds around certain people that are popular, you know. Uh, Usually, sadly, I'm so busy working, you know, that's the deal. Like again, the one that I just was able to look at a lot was recently was the Pacific Northwest one. I was so busy, I was talking to somebody almost constantly. So I didn't really get to go around and watch things as an observer. I think it'd be fun to go to a pen show and not be a vendor. You know, I could still go to the Dallas show and just not be a vendor. You know, I could do that and just go be an
I know.
observer,
Oh, see,
you
I
know.
couldn't go to any pin show and just look and see who's buying what I'd want.
Well,
I got to have that, this, that, don't need it. I take a
that's
bottle of ink, I don't need it.
that's part of the problem is even the shows I go to like that. Well, I did buy that Ryan Cusack pen, which was a bit, that was a pretty higher end pen for me. You know, that's a and it was one I've been looking at his pens for a couple of years now, and they are absolutely amazing. Excuse me, and yes, that's the problem with going to a pen show. I guess that's another, point of warning for everybody listening. If you go to a pen show, be careful. Either have a very set budget or a good idea of what you're willing to buy and buy, because there'll be so many things that you will want.
And so many new things coming out.
You will find new things that you've never seen, and I do that every time I go. I go through. I see all these new things, and if the good thing is, like I was saying, you can at least pick them up and look at them, and you can then earmark them. Like I've gone to a couple shows and a couple events where I went, yeah, but I know where the website is. You know, I know what this pen looks like, and I know how to get it offline. There's a few pens that I've bought on, directly in, where you can actually see the pen, which is very important. The Ryan Cusack pen was one, that one was just calling me. He had a table, a couple tables full of really nice pens, and none of them would have disappointed me. But that one was calling me. And what was another one that I went to? It was last year. I went to the Canalea table, which was a big mistake, And of course, I went through it. And of course, their materials are a lot like the materials I use a lot of the times. Each pen is unique. When you make a pen, I'm just going to grab a pen here. Like when you make a pen, I can make 10 pens. I don't. I usually make just one or two at a time, but of any
Yeah.
material, usually one at a time. But each one is going to be unique. The swirling and the coloring is going to be unique for every one of them. You can buy 2 or 3 of the Canalea pens. I'm picking on them again. And each one's going to have its own characteristics. It's going to have different shapes, maybe more of the green or more of the red, or the different colors that are in the pen. They're going to be different. They're going to be different amounts and different shapes. And so being able to pick the right one out of a group is a big deal too. You can buy them online. I'm not trying to say you shouldn't buy pens online, but there's nothing like being able to see them. So that's the biggest thing for me. And I'm like you. I'm a kid in the candy store. Boy, my very first pen show, when I went to the Chicago show the first time, as it turned out, I had just started making pens, so I had a little pile of pens at this friend's booth, and he shared the end of his table with me, and so I had a little pile of pens, and people were coming up and talking to me, so I hardly got out to see the show that much. But I left my wife at one point, said, "You just watch the pens. I'm going to go down to the other side of the room, and I'm going to walk the room and come back here. I'll be back, in an hour or so." And I had just done that very first far aisle, and an hour had already gone by. So you can't believe how much stuff is at these shows. And that's why it's hard for me to describe it. Go ahead.
Is there anything that you saw or heard that went on at a pen show that was bad, having problems, no kind of outburst, anything?
Oh, well, I haven't seen any, outbursts or negative things like that. The only real problems have been, one, I just don't have enough time, and money, to do them justice. But also, I know some of the really popular shows. I know I've heard the Tokyo show is notorious. I mean, in terms of just how crowded it is. The DC show apparently I didn't go to it this year, but it was a very crowded show, and San Francisco was busy. I mean, all the shows at times. None of the shows I've been to have been really bad, but at the peak crowd time, sometimes it's hard to walk down an aisle, just walk down between the tables. There's just a big throng of people. It's usually not, I haven't seen too many where it was elbow to elbow, crowded, where I was starting to feel like there's too many people and I don't want to be in this big crowd. But it was not like you could just stroll down the walkway. You had to kind of zigzag as you went. And so if anything, I think the shows are getting more popular in the last couple of years, not less popular. And there's more and more new people getting into it. So, and the good news is there's going to be a lot of people there that are new people they're completely, so it's not like you're coming into this room and everybody else knows everybody and they're well, who are you? That kind of stuff. None of that doesn't happen. There's so many new people and everybody's very welcoming and very open. Like I will talk to people about, go figure. Someone comes up to me and they don't know much about pens, but they're interested. I have no trouble talking about pens. I can talk, and that's usually what, through the whole every day of the show, I'm usually sitting there talking to somebody about pens in one way or another. And it can be somebody who knows absolutely nothing about a pen. There's nothing quite like taking somebody and handing them a pen and putting some ink in it and say, now here's a piece of paper. Just try writing with it. Just feel how it feels when you take the nib and you hold the nib this way and drag it, just move it across the paper and just scribble around a little bit. And they go, wow, that is amazing. That happens all day long. And so what can I say? It's hard to be having a bad time.
Do you have any pens that you like to show that you've made or want to make?
Oh yeah. Well, I've got a couple here now. I've got this for the I always have this thing where I have things I like to make or experiment with. Now I've got a bucket list of things I'd like to get done, and I'm hoping that I'm actually going to get some of them done now that I'm retired and can work on this full time. But
Mm.
one of the things I wanted to do is I had gotten a batch of Nico ebonite, some ebonite from Japan, and so I had like so I made 14 Nico ebonite pens. I just did one of every material that I had on my hands at that, and that's not all their materials. That's just some of them. And so I made, and I got them finished before the Pacific Northwest Pen Show, and I had pretensions of getting them ready for the St. Louis show, but it just did. I couldn't move that fast. So I made 14 of these. Half of them sold at the Pacific Northwest show, just like that, you know. And so, again, I just have so much fun making these pens. I just love the way they come out, you know. So I got a whole batch of those. Oh, another one that I done. Now this will be familiar to you, Larry. You'll recognize this. You'll recognize this material.
Yep, yep. In fact, mine's in the den right now.
You've got a pen made out of this. It's called Murder Hornet by the Pensmiths.
It was
You
a
know,
gold nib.
and yeah, you've got one with a gold nib with a Larry logo etched into
Yep,
it.
yep,
Uh,
yep.
this one doesn't have a Larry logo pen, but it's a little pocket pen. I just came up with this
Yeah, I just
design,
yeah.
and so I had somebody ordered a custom pen, and they said, Mike, I want you to make a pocket pen for me. Make it as small as you can. All right, that was their goal. That was their design goal for me. And so went through different ideas. I probably filled several pages of my notebook with drawings and ideas. And finally, what I did is I took a pen, pretty much the way I normally make a pen, and I just said I'm going to make it just big enough for a standard convertible.
Wow. Yeah.
So
Okay.
just that short, okay? And so, like all pocket pens for me, they're all too short really to hold. See, they don't rest on my thumb web at all. So you just post it like all of them. Most all of them are done
Right.
the same, have the same idea. Once you post it, it's back up to a normal, comfortable size. And now you got a nice little pocket pen. That's a new design that I just did this summer for this one person, and then I made a few more just to bring them to the shows, and they're doing very well as well, just like those ebonite ones. New things are always popping up, and I'm not the only one. I think there are more makers now, like people making pens on their own, like me. There are more of them out there. There's new ones all the time, so it's very exciting, a very exciting time.
So for anybody that's new into fountain pens or is going to take that next step from bottom of the barrel and start moving up, 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 and they want a custom pen. Uh, so they can contact you if they're interested. Tell them about your custom pens, how much they are. Tell them about the nibs, who does the nibs, because when they get that pen is ready to go, right?
Oh yeah. Right. That's a good point. We won't mention any names. There's some companies that are notorious for it. I mean, very, very expensive pens where you buy the pen and whatever you want to say, either it's not their high priority or whatever. It's like buying an Italian sports car. They're going to need a lot of maintenance. They're high maintenance vehicles, some of them, and that's just the good old way they used to be and all that. But uh, and I don't like that. So I have, and again, now this is another rabbit hole you can dive down into with this whole pen, passion and hobby is, you buy pens and they're not great. Well, you can go to somebody and they will actually custom update the pen. They'll smooth and tune that nib so it fits your personality, what angle you write at and how heavy you push down. They
Yep.
can make it work, sing for you. And so I ran into a fellow named Kirk Spear of Penn. His company's name's Pen Realm at that
Okay.
very first Chicago pen show when I was just getting into pens, and I had already started making pens. I'd get a few nibs. I'd buy all these nibs and I'd try them out, and I go, this one's kind of scratchy. It writes. It's actually, it would work, but it's not as good as the one right next to it. And so I was like, you really need to tune some of these and smooth them and everything. So I send all of my pens to Kirk and have all my nibs. And so he tunes all of my nibs. So when you buy one of my pens, you're getting a tuned nib. But again, spinning back around to the pen shows, Kirk is almost at every pen show, and he's not the only
Yeah,
one. There's a
I've seen
handful
it.
of people there called, I call them nibmeisters. That's so they don't. Some of them don't like to be called meisters. They're nib smiths or whatever. But anyway, you can go to them, and if you've got a pen that you bought that isn't working very well, they can make that nib really work well. And then you can go into, there's all sorts of different shapes you can get and all special effects. It's a whole nother, another rabbit hole. You can go crazy on that, just like any of these things. But you can buy a pen. All my pens on my website, they basically, you can go, and again, see, this is, again, when people come up to me at my table, I have people come up to me all the time that are just, they've never had a fountain pen, or they've bought maybe one fountain pen and they don't know much, which is great. I'm still, I'm learning like mad even now. I wouldn't consider myself a master in anything, either using a pen or making a pen or anything. And there's so much to learn. That's the fun part. Don't be too afraid to jump into this. And you don't have to start with anything anything fancy. You can go buy, there's a bunch of companies that make them, Pilot. There's some disposable pens that you can buy that are only a couple dollars, fountain
Yeah,
pens.
and
You
there
can buy
I have
those.
some. You're
You can
good.
buy, right, and it'll write good. It'll write
Yeah,
good, And then now you get down low enough. I mean, some of them aren't that sometimes aren't that great, but I mean, but most of them, like from reputable companies like Pilot or Platinum, Lamy. There's a whole bunch of reasonably good companies to start with, and they make pens that at every level. They make the $2-5 disposable pens. They make the $20 pens, and of course, the sky's the limit. You can just keep going, but you don't have to dive in and spend a lot of money to have a lot of fun with these things. That's what I would say. Just
there's a
jump in and
question
have
I want.
fun. Don't get yourself stressed out about the money. You can always go spend more money. You'll always be able to do that. Trust me.
So, what are your next upcoming shows you're going to be doing?
Well, I think at this point I'm going to indulge myself, and I kind of blew the Dallas Pen Show. It wasn't their fault; it was my fault. I didn't register in time, so I'm kind of deciding I'm going to stay home and I'm going to make pens. That's what I'm going to do.
So then,
So
people that are
watch my
interested.
website, watch my Instagram. You will be seeing. I post them as I make them, and
Okay.
my goal is to end up with a huge stockpile of pens to bring to the next Chicago Pen Show. That's my plan. My next planned show is the Chicago Pen Show in May of 2025. And by then I'll have made 1 million pens, right? The time is so far away. No, it'll be here before you
It
know it.
depends. Remember, people would buy them as fast as you were making them.
Right. Right. I was back, I got to a certain stock level, enough that I can actually go to a show and not be too worried about that I'll run out of pens. But people could very easily have bought all of them. I mean, it could have happened, but it didn't happen so far. And I'd make a few more. And so I was kind of keeping up with how many pens, I don't think I'll ever have too many pens. I don't know. Can you have too many pens?
No,
No, that's crazy talk,
no.
I know
Still
I'm
want
talking. I
more.
know who I'm talking to. I know who I'm talking to. You can't
You
have too many
still
pens.
want more and more and more.
Right,
So,
right,
but
right.
uh,
That's my plans. Make pens like mad this winter.
so people that are interested in getting in touch with Mike Green Custom Pens, you can reach him, Mike.
Okay, here I think this should show up okay. Here's my
Yeah,
card. There we
there it
go.
is. That's how you get a hold of
Try to
Mike.
stay in frame here. The simplest thing is to go to Instagram and go to MIGHKE 42. MIGHKE 42. Mike 42, misspelled Mike. And you can follow me on Instagram. And then, of course, I've got a website. It's mikespenfun.com. And of course, for some of us other folks, I've got a phone number. You can text me or even call me on the phone, for people who aren't into this interweb stuff, And of course, I've got an email there too, mike@mighke.com. You can email me and you can ask me about pens. You can talk about pens, we can, and if there's a pen you're interested in, or if you'd like to have a custom pen. See, at that point, you're getting pretty advanced though, if you're going to do that, but you can at least look at the pens I've already made and say, hey, I like that yellow one, I like that Murder Hornet. I'd really like a pocket pen, that would be fine. Yeah.
And what else I wanted to ask you? So, how long would it take you to make their pen?
That's a great question.
Depends on what they want.
It depends on the pen. Some are more complicated. I won't be embarrassed and say how long it takes me to get a pen right. Sometimes it's embarrassing, but for a normal pen, just sit down and do quote one of my standard pens. I've estimated it takes me about a day to make one, in that vicinity. I start with just a block of material. I don't pour my own. I buy the materials from all these various makers that make great materials. I buy the material and then I cut it up, machine it, polish, da 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 da. And it takes, I'm estimating somewhere around 8 hours to make a pen. Now, some are a little faster, some are a little slower. Some materials are harder to work with than others, yada, yada, yada. And, I'm actually thinking maybe I'll have enough time to actually time how long it takes me to make a pen sometime soon. Maybe that's one of my projects that I'd like to do. Actually figure out how long does it take me to make a pen. Now, if you're doing custom pens, I do custom pens. Custom pens sometimes take a lot longer because I'm doing something, and I love doing new things. And so I'm doing something I've never done before. And sometimes it doesn't work the first time. Sometimes it doesn't work and I have to try it again. I think I've had some pens. I think the longest I spent on a pen was about a month. It was a custom pen that I was trying to get working, and I was fighting the dimensions. It was a very small pen. So everything gets very thin. So things are much harder to make them work when things get very thin in the materials. They tend to break easy. So you end up with something that will break easy, and I don't want something that'll break easy. So,
well, I'm going to have to hang it up. Time for me to depart.
I'm glad we got together. Thank you very much.
But remember this to everybody, that we will be Zooming all together again soon. Believe it or not, I know I've said it over and over again, but I'm working as hard as I can to get back. I don't know to what point I can get back, but we're going to be doing the Zoom together. And a special shout out to Frank at Federalist Pens. Hello, Frankie. I hadn't forgotten you. And
bought 2 pens from him at the Chicago Pen Show, I believe.
Buy more. And hello to
Two?
Tony and Lisa and Dan and Dr. Joe. Am I missing anybody? Whoever else I'm missing.
A bunch of people.
There's so many. My memory's so bad that if I pronounce your name, oops, sorry. Well, anything else you want to say, my friend, before we leave?
Well, it was great hanging out with you again, and I'm looking forward to seeing your smiling face some more. Good luck, my friend.
All right, take care. God bless everybody. Have a great day. Trick or treat. Bye-bye.